Right, Philip, you've come back a few days later. We went through all those tests again, and I think you can feel more comfortable that you performed a lot better this time. Do you agree?
I agree, Doc.
Yes.
I feel a bit better.
Your symptoms have cleared, your examination was normal, and your balance is back to where it should be, and your performance on the computerized test was much better this week. I think you're ready to start a graduated return to play program. That means that day by day, we increase the amount of exercise you're doing, monitor your symptoms, make sure you're feeling fine and performing well, and allow you to go back to rugby when the time is right. That program is laid out in this form here, and it explains why we follow each step day by day. That includes starting with light aerobic exercise. We'll get you in the gym, and your team doctor will monitor you every step of the way, asking you important questions every time you exercise. Each day will increase the intensity of the exercise, moving you perhaps from the bicycle to the treadmill, doing some weights exercises, and making sure that you perform well and that you feel well each day. When your team doctor is happy with that, you'll be allowed back onto the field to perform rugby-specific drills, and then the final stage, after your doctor has re-evaluated you, will be to put you back into contact practice. Do you understand?
Yes, Doc.
The program is laid out here. Your team doctor will have a copy of this and will take you through day by day. Okay, that's for you. Good luck.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay, and I hope not to see you again too soon.
I hope so too, Doc. Thanks for everything.
Okay. The graduated return to play protocol consists of 6 phases, of which the first is the mandated age-appropriate rest phase, and the last stage is the full return to rugby. The business end of the process are stages 2 to 5, where the player is progressively exposed to increasing levels of physical activity, exercise intensity, and sport specificity, with ultimately full contact practice, or stage 5, being the last phase before returning to full rugby activities. A second knock to the head in a concussed player who has not fully recovered can be extremely dangerous, especially in younger players, and can lead to severe neurological complications, even death. So let us keep our future Springboks in mind and encourage safe participation, where the health, social and physical benefits far outweigh the potential risks of playing rugby. All rugby stakeholders should be aware that there are certain processes that the concussed player needs to go through before returning to school or sporting activity. As an example, in the case of a school teacher, they are critically involved in integrating a concussed player back into the class environment, as they are in the best position to note if the player is coping adequately or is struggling compared to his pre-concussive performance in the classroom. Parents should do the same at home, and also take some responsibility by insisting that their concussed child is managed according to protocol. This is in everyone's best interests, and especially that of the player. If everyone at home, at school and at clubs, coaches, referees, attending medical staff and players do their bit, concussed players should gain full recovery and be able to have long playing careers and live healthy, fully productive and functional lives. The concussed player must be completely without any signs or symptoms, must have followed the age-appropriate, graduated return to play process, and must strictly adhere to any medical advice given by the doctor before going back to rugby. Do not be a head case, be sensible and follow the protocols provided. Before entering the return to play process, make sure that you have been cleared by a medical doctor who understands concussion to do so.
Each stage of the graduated return to play process is allocated a specific time period. The player can only progress to the next stage if they show no signs or symptoms of concussion during the exercise sessions and the minimum 24-hour period allocated within each stage progression. Stage 1 is physical rest until no signs and symptoms remain. For players 18 years old or younger, this period is a minimum of 2 weeks off, and even longer if any signs or symptoms remain. The objective is full recovery before moving on to the next stage. For players 19 years old or older, this is a minimum of 1 week off, and the player must be sign and symptom free. Stage 2 is light aerobic exercise for 10 to 15 minutes, where the player must be symptom-free during the full 24-hour period. This may include activities such as light jogging, swimming, or stationary cycling, but no resistance training. The objective here is to increase the heart rate and see how the player responds. The player should be symptom-free during and after the light aerobic exercise session. Stage 3 becomes more sport-specific and pushes the intensity up a bit, to where the player is exposed to running drills, where rugby-specific movement patterns are added, but still includes no potential head impact activities yet. Stage 4 progresses the player to more complex training drills, where passing can be included. The player can also incorporate progressive resistance training into their day. The purpose here is to combine non-contact exercise, coordination, and decision-making, which increases the load on the brain. Stage 5 represents the normal training activities, such as full contact practice. Before entering Stage 5, it is critical that the player is cleared by a medical doctor and is completely symptom-free after progressing through the previous 3 exercise stages. Once cleared by the medical doctor, the player can progress to full contact training to restore their confidence in contact situations, and also for the coaching staff to assess their functional ability and level of readiness. They should also show no signs or symptoms during the stage and the following full 24-hour period. Only after successfully completing this stage will they be given the final go-ahead to return to full match play or Stage 6. If a player shows any signs or symptoms during any stage, they should consult with their treating medical doctor and move back a stage to where they were previously sign and symptom-free, and attempt to progress again after a minimum of 24 hours rest. The earliest that an 18-year-old or younger player can return to play after the minimum 2-week stand-down period and following the graduated return to play process without any recurring signs and symptoms would be 19 days after the injury. For players 19 years old or older, this would be 12 days after the injury. Exceptions to SARU's and World Rugby's concussion protocols are only allowed where a player has access to an enhanced care clinical setting. Advanced care settings include all of the following. 1. Medical doctors with training and experience in recognizing and managing concussion. 2. Access to brain imaging facilities and neuroradiologists. And 3. Access to a multidisciplinary team of specialists, including neurologists, neurosurgeons, neuropsychologists, neurocognitive testing, and balance and vestibular rehabilitation therapists.